Hey everybody, welcome to another video review. As you can see, we've now reached the Master Replicas Qui-Gon Jinn lightsaber from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. We don't have too many of these left. I'm going to start rotating so you can get an idea of how this lightsaber looks. After this guy, I still have the Obi-Wan Kenobi from Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. And then that'll be it for the Master Replicas line. That'll be all 25. And then I still have to pick up the EFX Dark Ray lightsaber. And then after that, I will have done individual YouTube video reviews of all of the Master Replicas lightsabers and essentially all of the high-end EFX lightsabers, of which there are 4. There's the Maul, the Ahsoka, the Luke Reveal, and the Dark Ray. The Ahsoka Tano dual sabers from the recent Disney Plus show Ahsoka is scheduled to be released sometime early next year, January to February hopefully, which I have on pre-order. And then we still have the dark saber that they hinted at in the San Diego Comic-Con earlier this year, which they haven't even put on pre-order yet. So that's pretty distant. So with the Ahsoka dual sabers, it'll be 30 total, 25 from Master Replicas in the olden days, and then 5 from EFX, both over 10 years old, and also the more recent releases. So we're getting to the end of the line here in terms of lightsaber reviews and my effort to, kind of put on the most definitive series of reviews of these works of art on YouTube. And then after that, I may play around and do various comparisons. There'll certainly be a video comparing the Obi-Wan sabers, and there'll be another one looking at the 2 Yodas. Fun stuff like that. Maybe there will be a Return of the Jedi, Luke comparison, stuff like that. And there'll definitely be a video kind of showing off all of them and where I have them up in my house, and probably along with that, we'll go through like a definitive ranking from 1 to 30 of all 30 of these hilts. So that's kind of what's in the future. It'll take a while to get all of that done. And I'll talk a little bit later on, maybe kind of my ultimate plans for rounding out the collection, what I hope to achieve, things like that. So here we go. This is Qui-Gon Jinn. There's not much to say about this lightsaber, although I think maybe, as with so many of these pieces, there's a big difference between seeing them on photos on YouTube, or even maybe seeing video reviews on YouTube, and then actually handling them, in person. And there are like video reviews of this guy on YouTube, just unfortunately, in my opinion, not done very well, not with the very best, lighting and things like that. Now, by the way, I did buy a new iPhone, and I used that to record my Predator, bust. But I'm back to my, older phone. This is not like a terrible phone. I think it's an iPhone 12 or something like that. But it's recording at, just regular 1080p, 60 frames a second, just because I don't think like these lightsabers really necessarily need 4K. I think the detail is more than good enough, and you just require so much ridiculous memory when you're doing these 4Ks, and it takes so long. It takes up so much memory that it also takes forever to upload and process. And so I think that just for matters of sheer practicality, this is just easier to do, let's just say. So anyways, Qui-Gon Jinn, one of the kind of less exciting lightsabers. I don't think a lot of people are really jazzed about this. Again, you look at pictures, look at video, it doesn't seem very striking when you compare to some of the more iconic pieces. They also made like 2,500 of these, so it's not all that rare, let's just say. And so I really saved this for last. I think of all of the lightsabers by Master Replicas, this one definitely is one of the lower uh, tiered ones, and it goes for quite a little bit less money. Okay, I bought this again from, you know, my contact slash friend in the UK, and no joke, I was in no hurry to get this. I think I had a brand new one, in a store in Singapore from one of my other contacts, who lives in Singapore. He told me like he says we got a Qui-Gon Jinn like sealed in box, languishing, in this store in Singapore for like some ridiculous number, like I don't know, $900 or $800 shipping, shipped, shipping included from Singapore. So, and these are very common on eBay auction sites. It's just not that sought after. Now there's guys who are trying to sell this for 1,000 plus, but that's just really not happening. And so I wasn't really looking for this, in terms of my money and my effort and my time. I was definitely trying to get other hilts that were way more rare and that I felt was a lot more difficult to source, But, eventually, of course, you keep doing that, you're going to wind up having nothing left to get except this. And at the time, my friend had listed this on eBay, like, I'm not even kidding, I think at least 3 times. He was like decreasing the price by 100 British pounds sterling every single auction. No bites, nobody wanted it, and just not so. So finally, I just worked out a deal with him. And I said, yo, I bought a lot of stuff from you. You've sold a lot of stuff to me, some on eBay, some off eBay. And I said, if you sell me the Anakin signature edition for solid price, good price, and then I'll take Qui-Gon off your hands, because I'm collecting all of them anyways. I'm gonna need to get them anyways. So we had a little nice conversation, package deal, and so I committed to it. And still, I obviously got Anakin first, and I believe this was like the second to last saber I bought from him. The very last one was the Maul signature edition. And the reason that took a long time was because he had to sort of dig it out. He had a custom mirror base and acrylic case, made for it. He needed to find the right way to package it. The Maul is very difficult. I think, if you look at the review I made of both the EFX as well as the Master Replicas, signature edition Mauls, you'll see how long and large that is. And when you then add in a custom base and acrylic case, it gets even more complicated, especially when shipping from the UK. So that was the last one I bought from him. But this was the second to last, when I had kind of gotten everything else I needed, and I had to just kind of finish this off. And then it actually came in the mail, and I just let it sit in my garage for like a month. That's how unexcited I was to actually take this thing out and do my thing with it. So yeah, I don't know why I'm not that excited about it. Maybe it's sort of a reflection of his character in The Phantom Menace. I think Star Wars fandom has a tendency to sort of canonize every little stupid thing, every little misstep. Like everything can be explained away in the canon. Every insignificant thing can become significant. Every dumb minor character becomes important. There is that tendency in Star Wars to do that. Maybe in all franchises, I don't know. But I've noticed that especially in Star Wars. But even back in like the late 70s, you'd be making like an action figure of some random background character who just walked in the back of the screen for 3 seconds or something stupid like that. And so me personally, I just did not find, I did not enjoy The Phantom Menace, at all. It was quite a bit of a shock. I remember very clearly that I was 23 years old, right? Yeah, I was like 23. I was in my first year of medical school. We'd actually, ditched medical school class to get in line to buy the tickets, for this. And then, of course, we went and saw it opening night. And I just remember being, really let down, right? For the first Star Wars movie made by George Lucas in a generation, it was pretty crazy. And kind of like Liam Neeson and Qui-Gon Jinn was a big part of that. That really kind of like dry, boring movie, very difficult to appreciate his role in it. And so this is like his lightsaber. So this is like the lightsaber of a character that I never really felt much affinity for. And despite like the decades later of trying to repair this guy's reputation and sort of structure, his role, it was just, I just felt like the whole thing was just sort of dumb. His whole decision making in the entire first movie, it was just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It was just bad, So of course, when you don't have that connection with the character, it becomes a lot less or a lot more difficult to get excited about this guy's lightsaber. But of course, my quest is to own every single, Master Replicas release, and this is one of them. They never made a signature edition for him. He was one of those individuals who never signed, and I don't think he's especially good about signing. I mean, he'll sign as much as any, I think, random celebrity. I mean, I think he's better than some who don't sign at all. So he'll sign once in a while, but he'll never ever like create like an event necessarily. And he hasn't been particularly engaged with the Star Wars fandom, like say Ewan McGregor or Hayden Christensen, and a lot of other actors involved with the Star Wars universe. He sounds to me kind of be a little bit, what's the right word? Maybe I don't want to say arrogant, but he's definitely a little bit elitist in the sense. Sorry, I just bumped this. I think I would say he's definitely a little bit elitist in the sense of how he views himself. I mean, he's a movie star, absolutely no question about that, and he really didn't want to even do Star Wars on TV until they talked him into a very, very small cameo for the end of the Obi-Wan Disney Plus show. So there's that, and it could just be that he doesn't really want to sign. He never signed back in the day when Phantom Menace was released and Master Replicas was creating these replicas. And unlike say Ian McDiarmid or Ewan McGregor, who came around and is now very active on the convention circuit and signing, he's never ever kind of lowered himself, if that's the word, to do that. And in this sense, I think that this saber kind of screams out for a signature edition or a signature plaque. I mean, of course, I wish all of them had signature editions, but I mean, this would be very, very, like having a custom signature plaque like I made with the Liam Neeson signature would definitely elevate this piece several notches, So I think that it would be just really, really important to do that. So one of the interesting things about this, now before we go on, I'm going to just take the acrylic case off like I always do. And then we're going to put on a black background just to set this off a little bit more. There we have it. So let's keep on rotating now that you actually have the acrylic out of the way. So one of the interesting things about this saber is kind of the duality of the black and the gray. I mean, you can see that there's a lot of black. I mean, Obi-Wan's is similar to this. And I guess it kind of makes sense because I think, they say that the Padawan's first lightsaber often has many elements of his masters to kind of pay homage to him or her. And so this is definitely kind of reminiscent of some of Obi-Wan's designs. And it might be interesting to compare the two, mainly in sort of the black, ridged aspects of the hilt is where I see some of that in Obi-Wan, as well as the red, knob over there. This is the emitter side right over here. And this, of course, is the knob. So quite a bit more black. And of course, it's out of machine metal, as all of them are. And we're going to be able to take a look at this in a little bit more detail. in the flesh, so to speak, it looks a lot more cool than it has before. It's a really, actually pretty striking design. Again, like, it's the only hilt that has so much black incorporated in it, almost the entire length of the hilt, and we'll go into that detail a little bit later. So, there you have it, looking in all directions. It has sort of like this sheath at the bottom that's all gunmetal gray, and so we'll take a look at that as well. But in my mind, there's nothing too unique about this in terms of how it relates to Qui-Gon's personality. How like Count Dooku's lightsabers has that really cool pistol grip, which Sir Christopher Lee, who himself is a skilled fencer and duelist, had requested. You have the gold accents for Samuel L. Jackson's Mace Windu, right, lightsaber. So there's a lot of those things, but here it's hard to kind of make any conjecture about Qui-Gon's personality and the lightsaber design, let's just say. This was from the first movie, Phantom Menace, where there was only really 3 lightsabers. There was Qui-Gon Jinn's, then there's Obi-Wan Kenobi's as a Padawan, and then finally Darth Maul's double-sided, double-bladed lightsaber. And I have to say that I think the designs for all 3 of them were pretty basic, not very exciting. I mean, certainly this is unique compared to what we had before. We just had, obviously the Obi-Wan and Luke's Arthur Obi-Wan, and the flash guns from, Vader and Luke respectively. So this is certainly quite different compared to the original trilogy's designs. And so for that, it's new, so it's interesting. And obviously at the time, none of us had ever, seen a double-bladed saber from Maul. But I think that the design team really sort of hit their stride with the second one, Attack of the Clones, and then went into overdrive with the third, But this is from the Phantom Menace. And so before getting really deeply into the close-ups of the hilt, let's, again, as usual, take a look at the plaque. So this is the sort of generic stand. Again, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon Jinn. I don't even remember how to spell it right. So now I have to remember, okay. I used to spell it like Qui-Gon with 2 N's at the Gon. And I didn't even know, where exactly to put the little dash. The hyphen, is it between the Qui and the Gon or whatnot? So now I know it's Qui-Gon with 1 N and then Jinn with 2 N's. Lightsaber, 2500, and this is number 31. The guy I bought it from was a Master Replicas Collector Society member, which means that he had access to the lower numbers. So nice plaque, nothing too remarkable. We'll put that aside, or we'll put it right over here where it belongs. And then let's take a look at the certificate of authenticity. So again, it's interesting. This is the beige envelope. However, it's no longer a real envelope. It's the sort of the fold-out version, but not black. So this was definitely, made sort of in between after the earlier run, but before the before the Revenge of the Sith. I think 2006 was it about? Like 2006 runs, and you can tell that because you can see that the mirror base is no longer small and recessed, but then now you have an outer lip around the mirror base. So this is contrasted, of course, with the earlier Master Replicas display cases where the acrylic case would go inside the base. Now it's going outside the mirror base. Okay, there's a lip here, but still the actual plaque had both the number and the entire limitation. And again, they kind of made a mistake with the later ones where they didn't actually, create the plaque until later. On that note, by the way, I was watching a YouTube video from Star Wars Replicas from Gabe, And he actually dropped a little bit of knowledge, which I'm not sure is true, but I tend to think maybe it is, which is that he said that the reason that they didn't give the limitation for some of the later lightsaber hilts is because apparently they had switched to a model where they were opening up pre-orders, and then they would see how many pre-orders they sold to determine the limitation. And so that means that the final number wouldn't be decided until maybe later. And they created those limitation plaques quite a bit later after the pre-orders had already been set. I guess, I mean, but that kind of doesn't ring true to me, or doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because we have that model today. A lot of collectibles have pre-order windows, so everybody has a chance to get it. You don't have to fight each other to get the 100 or 300 or 250 or 500 pieces that are out there. And the window is like usually about a month, I think. In some instances, they make it 2 weeks, right? But okay, but that's the pre-order window. And then once that window closes, you have a set number of pre-orders, and the final limitation is decided at that point. You have plenty of time. Usually it takes months, maybe sometimes even a year or longer, for the production piece to find its way into the collector's hands after the pre-order window is closed. And so there's plenty of time to get that limitation and then create like a plaque reflecting that. So in my mind, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to say, from Gabe's story, if you believe it, that the reason they didn't make the limitation was because they didn't know what it was. But how can that possibly be? Let's just give an example. Let's just say for Qui-Gon Jinn, you do a limitation, window, and then after the month has gone out, you find out that maybe 2,255 people ordered. Then what are you going to do? Are you going to make exactly 2,255? Or are you going to round up to 2,500? And if you do that, you still got 6 months, 3 months, many months before you create the lightsaber. It's just a pre-order. Why wouldn't you just make, again, something like this? So that doesn't really make any sense. In 2006, they made a plaque with a number on it, and then only later on did they give another limitation plaque. So I tend to still believe the original explanation, which is that they simply were too lazy to do it. They weren't going to do it, and then they got caught out on it, and then they had to go back and basically cover up the mistakes, which led to a whole lot of nonsense and BS. Especially in the secondary collectors market, where now you have to try to find that second plaque, and that's sometimes not so easy to do. So here we go, as usual. We have the same, Masters Collector Society, and then you have the registration email right over here, and then you have the limited, warranty. So nothing too exciting. In this case, the cool thing is it actually comes with a microfiber cloth, which has never been opened. I wonder how many of these came with it. I would think most of them came with it, but remarkably few of the lightsabers, at least that I've gotten, have come with it. I think of the 29 I own, I think there's only been less than 5 that's come with the microfiber cloth wipe. So, whatever, be that as it may. It does add quite a little bit of bulk to the envelope, which I'm not a huge fan of, but there you go. So here's a certificate of authenticity for Qui-Gon Jinn. I think you will notice immediately that it just feels a lot cheaper. The paper stock is definitely way cheaper. And it doesn't help that the last lightsaber I reviewed before getting to this one was the Darth Maul Master Replica Signature Edition. So when you compare that with this, it's definitely very disappointing. There's no gold embossing at all. It's all just sort of, black on black, which in my opinion kind of sucks. I mean, come on, Master Replicas, how much money are you saving not having that? So worse paper, worse embossing. But whatever, Star Wars limited edition. They don't even have the name of the movie. They don't have episode 1, Phantom Menace. I mean, you're thinking, they're prepared for the worst. You're thinking, is this like a generic certificate of authenticity, right? Like there's like nothing. So you open it up. Over here, you finally do see Star Wars Limited Edition, Certificate of Authenticity. You can tell definitely this is the slightly cheaper version, but at least they have the gold, the gold seal. So I like that, but definitely is not specific at all to Qui-Gon Jinn. It doesn't have the, signature Howard Rothman and Scott Vogel. So that's a shame. And then over here, it actually is Qui-Gon, as you can see it, limited edition. Here it is. And I'm going to scroll slowly up. So you can read it. So there we have it. Certificate of authenticity. Pretty disappointing. I mean, like I said, this was before 2006, I think, and they're really kind of cheaping out with the limited edition plaques, at least. Okay, so now finally, let's get to the actual reason we're all here. So check out this lightsaber. I'll move this out of the way. So you can see actually at the back end, you can see more of the gunmetal gray sheath. Here's the cover tech that's present in, I think, all of the prequel trilogy lightsabers. As with all of them, it's actually shockingly heavy. You take it off and, you can actually feel the weight in your palm. Definitely has a good weight to it. In fact, the only lightsaber that doesn't have that weight is the EFX one, which obviously the reason for that is because the entire blade is resin except for the metal ends. So despite the fact it's twice as long as any lightsaber, it's the lightest of them all by quite a fair margin. Most people don't see this part because when you put it on the display stand, you never actually display it like this, right? You always display it like this. And so everybody sees the black, but they don't see actually the back half, which is this sort of gunmetal gray sheath. And here's the cover tech knob right here that you use to put on the belt clip. Let's take a look at the end. So 2006 Master Replicas. So this is 2006. Wow. So that explains it. But they made this before the others, before episode 3 for sure. And then let's take a look at the emitter. Kind of very bare bones. There's no hole or anything. It's just like this flat disc. All right, that's great. You can kind of see the windows here. So this is like a separate piece that's attached. And then you can kind of see the design here. Put it all in there. They have the windows here, I'll go through this in much closer detail a little bit later on. One of the interesting things about this design is like I don't even know what to call it. It's almost like a domino effect, right? The kind of the handle. So let's just start here. There's not much to see, not too interesting. You see the beginning of the sheath. Here's the black knob. Oh, now that is very interesting. I've never ever seen this before. Limited edition has actually been like engraved on this lightsaber. I don't know what that's all about. I've never actually, have I seen this before? I don't remember, maybe. Maybe usually the limited edition is placed on the back of the knob. But this is the first time I've seen limited edition actually on the handle itself, not on the knob. Okay, but that's interesting. They actually have limited edition kind of placed here. And then when you look at this side, this is actually flat. So hopefully you can see that. This is actually flat. So it's not like a circle, not round, but flat. And it looks like dominoes essentially. And you can see that the actual it's kind of weird. Like the actual hilt is very thin because like these ridges go all the way down to the base of the silver sheath, right? So hopefully you can see that. I'm gonna go really close. I'm gonna try to angle it. You see how deep the grooves between each of these dominoes are? It actually is a very interesting design. So I'm gonna just try to rotate it. Do you see that? So you can see how deep it goes. It goes all the way down to here. So where's the electronics of this thing? I have no idea. You know, like the majority of the handle is actually like here, you know. But there you go. The cover tack. Yeah, so that's it. This is actually the thickness of the actual hilt, where any wires and all that stuff can go. There's not much space because again, up top, these are just basically dominoes. There's 13 of them. I don't know if there's any significance in that. Just checking. Yeah, 13. And again, you can see from the side view that it's actually pretty flat. This is some sort of aircraft button that they got. You can see the nice knurling around it. And I think they just put this on just for decoration. I mean, at least I think that's what the certificate of authenticity said. Let me check real quick. It said that this is made from machined from aluminum or aluminum. There's some resin parts that were cast, and then like a rare red aircraft button was added as decoration. I mean, I don't know what makes this button rare. I mean, they they made this like in droves with the Darth Maul, and I seem to recall quite a bit of these buttons. Red, wasn't the Obi-Wan's, didn't that have a red one? I could have sworn. But whatever, now you know where this is from. Aircraft button, whatever that means. Kind of like the little hook here. All right. So maybe this is kind of, you know, the on-off switch or something like that. And then here you move up here, the heat sink. It's a little bit ridged, but not as deep as this. And then of course the gray sheath all the way up to the actual emitter itself. So I would say that the most interesting part of this lightsaber's design, a few things. Number one, the color. You know, like the majority of the body is of course all black, and then you have this kind of gunmetal gray partial sheath encapsulating it. And then I think that the deep ridges here, you know, creating the 13 domino pieces, which is the handle, then the striking red knob, and then, you know, from here on out, the rest of it, heat sink all the way up to the emitter, which is the same color as the sheath right here. I mean, they could have done a little bit something more interesting with the emitter. There was so many interesting, you know, things added for, you know, some of the other lightsabers. It's just kind of hard to believe that they just left it like this. But I mean, I don't know. I guess if that's what the prop looked like, that's what the prop looked like. So here you go. This is how it feels, how it looks in my hand, my purple gloved hand. Yeah. Not a lot of variety, right? It's just all black. It's kind of hard to showcase it. Trying to look for anything else, any other type of color palette, but that's about it. Okay, there you go. Let's have this thing back where it belongs. Again, most people display it like this. Get this thing out of the way. Get the acrylic case back on. So yeah, there you have it. Qui-Gon Jinn, limited edition lightsaber for Master Replicas. I think that in closing, you know, my impression of this lightsaber, I mean, it is better, you know, than it was before. When you just see pictures, all you see is just basically, you know, this part here, and it just looks like, you know, kind of just like ridges, right? And it's hard to grasp sort of the detail of it because it's all black, and black tends to hide the details, right, a little bit. So you have kind of a hard time really appreciating what's going on. But when you actually have it in hand, like I showed you, and I'm showing you close-up pics, you get to appreciate a little bit more of the, you know, the design choices. And of course, when you rotate it all around, looking at it from all the different angles, you get to see the back half, which is the silver, the gunmetal gray, sort of, you know, the extra sheath around it that gives it a little bit more of a kind of a colorful identity, you know, a little bit more, it's a little bit less boring, right? It gives a little bit more that's going on, let's just say. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think, you know, like as with most of these, seeing it in person, getting a chance to hold it, kind of like that tactile experience, which unfortunately is the one thing I really can't convey very well on a YouTube video. I can't convey, you know, how good it feels and the way it feels in your hand. Excuse me, getting a chance to touch all of it and examine things in person. No, definitely left a better impression than it did before. Is it enough for this to get out of the bottom tier, the bottom 5, tier number 5? I don't know. I have to really think about the other 25 or the other 24 sabers and kind of come to some idea. I haven't really given much thought about it at all, really. So we'll see. But yeah, for sure. Also the fact that the limited edition is actually, you know, engraved on, not on the pommel, but on the side. That's actually a pretty neat little thing that I didn't catch. And I have to look at some of my other video reviews, but I could have sworn that the limited editions, I don't think they had that. I think it was mainly just Master Replicas and the Lucasfilm on the logo, you know, much like here. I don't think they had limited edition on it. I think a signature edition, they definitely had it on there, but I don't remember if a limited edition is on there or not. Maybe it is, I don't know. But what makes this unique is that it's not on the pommel. It's on the metal, you know, on the handle itself. So hope you enjoyed that in-depth review of Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber made by Master Replicas. Next up will be the Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber with custom signature plaques. So that'll be pretty cool to actually showcase again. And until next time, do take care.